I got a chance to see The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, the movie where Nick Cage plays Nick Cage, but is this movie able to truly capture the spirit of the one and only Nicolas Cage? Let's find out. To say that Mr. Cage's career has been an interesting journey would be a bit of an understatement. Early in his career, he really did establish himself as being a prestige actor, going as far to earn himself an Academy Award. Then in the 90s and the 2000s, he became this action-adventure star, and at one point was even going to play Superman. But in more recent years, a lot of the work that has filled up a pretty substantial part of his resume here has been, let's say, some more independent films, most of which never really get a theatrical release. But even within those straight to VOD movies, every once in a while, something really special would pop up, like Mandy or last year's Pig, which was one of my favorite films of 2021. And say what you will about the films he has starred in over the years, the fact remains that Nicolas Cage is a movie star through and through, whose filmography has only been eclipsed by the sheer amount of memes and GIFs that feature this man's face, which has been like a crucial part of meme culture for literally like a decade now, which is really like the major appeal to Nicolas Cage, right? You have this actor who is able to portray these very complex and emotional characters like in Pig, which I might add is one of the best, if not the best performance of his career. And then you have things like Mom and Dad, which, you know, kind of speaks for itself.
Your motherfucking mother should open the door! Motherfuckers! You're going to open this motherfucking door!
The fact that all of that is contained within this one very odd man is just the best. This man is a national treasure, you might say. And I'm so happy to report that The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent really is a fabulous thank you of sorts to the wild and unique man that is Nicolas Cage, all of which is wrapped in one of the best comedies that I've seen this year. The story is a pretty simple one. Nicolas Cage portrays a pretty fictionalized version of himself whose career is kind of in the same spot as it is in real life, which leads him to accept a gig at a rich businessman's birthday party who is offering to pay him $1 million just to show up. Come to find out, the man that hired him is believed to be a ruthless criminal who is under investigation by the CIA, who asks Cage to aid in their investigation and go undercover. Now, I think one of the most impressive things that this movie accomplishes is actually the deceitfully difficult sort of tightrope walk that it's having, because you have Nicolas Cage, who, yeah, already, as we've established, is quite the character. So when you're portraying a fictionalized version of him, you don't want to be too heightened, right? Because you kind of have this hat on a hat type of situation. He's already wild and crazy enough. Do you really need to amp it up even more just for the sake of it and have him portray this cartoon of himself? And actually, it makes the movie all the funnier because that isn't the case. The line that Cage walks in this movie is so thin that as an audience member, you can't honestly help but wonder, how much of this is real? Like, you know, does he really act like this? And I do have to applaud Cage's candor and sense of humor when looking at himself and his career, because I think it takes a lot of guts to put yourself out there like that. Cage has been pretty open about why he took some of the roles in recent years and how he views them, but regardless, I think it's great that he is able to poke fun at himself a little bit here and is pretty self-aware about where his role in standing is within Hollywood right now. This really does give this movie a very meta angle because you have an actor who is portraying themselves. This really does give this movie a very meta angle, of course, because you have an actor who is portraying themselves, which is something that we have seen before in movies. And although, no, the film isn't quite as philosophical as something like Being John Malkovich, for example, I do think this film is able to have this nice level of introspection about the nature of why actors do what they do, and the portion of their lives that is consumed by roles, and the dynamic that plays within your family and also your career. When you spend your life portraying other people, how does that affect how you perceive yourself? And although, yeah, I really do appreciate that meta perspective of this film, there is another self-referential angle that this film takes, which just doesn't really quite work for me. The film also attempts to comment on the types of films that audiences are interested in nowadays, and how maybe these sort of artistic, more introspective films have to take a backseat to the spectacle, which is not a perspective that I am against hearing, not at all, in fact. However, I think how this perspective is implemented in the film, I found it to be a little heavy-handed. The film has this entire CIA angle, which although does, yes, have some thematic as well as narrative importance, I thought the way that they implemented this was a bit of self-referential lampshading, to be a bit on the nose, as well as kind of obvious. And it really is lampshading in the truest sense of the word, in that the film does get more adventurous and more commercial, if you will. And for the film to call that out as sacrificing its artistic merit just to appeal to the audience, I found it to be kind of condescending and even maybe a little pretentious. It may totally not hit everyone that way, but at least that's kind of how it affected me. But thankfully, all of this is able to go down very easily because this film is just a ton of fun and also really funny. Pedro Pascal portrays Javi in this film, and yeah, you may recognize him as Din Djarin from The Mandalorian, as well as in Wonder Woman 1984, and he's also in a ton of other stuff. But for the most part, he really hasn't had a lot of opportunity to use his comedic chops, which I guess has been a huge mistake up to this point because he is really funny in this. He and Cage have this terrific chemistry together and work so well on screen as this sort of unlikely pair, which results in this really funny but also pretty sweet buddy movie, which is not really a role I would expect either of these actors to fill, but they really surprised me, as did this movie. I think it can be a difficult job for a movie to tell this sort of Hollywood story about this actor or any actor and have it not just be a parody of itself in a way or seem too referential or too on the nose. And I think for the most part, this movie does avoid that. Yeah, it has some bumps here and there, but The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent is a ton of fun. This movie is hilarious and sweet, but also manages to have this nice level of introspection about art and how much of yourself you put into the art that you create. Honestly, guys, I hope you all get to see this in a packed house as I did. I had the opportunity to see this with a great crowd who were all laughing and cheering, and honestly, it was such a great time at the movie theater, and I really hope you guys get an opportunity to see The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. So did you guys get a chance to see this movie? I'd love to know what you thought about it. What is your favorite, craziest Nicolas Cage performance? Make sure to leave your thoughts and opinions down below, guys. And as always, thank you so much for watching today. I hope you liked today's video, and if you did, you can click on the link down below so you can subscribe to my channel to see more movie reviews and movie related things. Again, guys, thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.